What came through in this reading stopped me completely. I had to set the cards down, sit back, and just breathe for a moment. Because what I am feeling in your energy right now, specifically for July, specifically for this window of time that is either already open or opening as you watch this, is something I do not encounter often. And I want to be very clear about what I mean when I say that, because I am not someone who uses dramatic language carelessly. What I mean is this: there are readings where the energy is interesting, where things are shifting, where growth is happening. And then there are readings where something categorically different is occurring, where the universe has arranged something that does not belong in the ordinary category of events, where the timing, the alignment, the convergence of everything you have been through and everything that is now approaching, where all of it arrives at a single point that changes the direction of your life. This is one of those readings. Virgo, what is coming for you this July is not a small thing dressed up in large language. It is genuinely, specifically, remarkably rare. And I need you to understand what I mean by rare, because I think that word gets used so often that it loses its weight. I mean rare the way a particular alignment of stars is rare. I mean rare the way a door appears that was not there yesterday and will not be there indefinitely. I mean rare in the sense that what is approaching you right now is the direct result of a convergence that has been building across months, possibly years of your life, and it is arriving now in this month, in this season. And the people who are positioned to receive it are the people who are present, who are paying attention, who have done the interior work necessary to recognize an extraordinary thing when it arrives rather than letting it pass by because they were too buried in their own doubt to see it clearly. You are one of those people. That is why you are here. Let me start by telling you something about the period you have just come through, because I think it is essential to understand where you have been in order to fully appreciate what is now approaching, and more importantly, in order to trust that you have earned what is coming, because you have, not in the transactional sense of earning, not as a reward dispensed by a universe keeping score, but in the sense that who you are right now in this moment is the direct product of everything you have navigated to arrive here. And who you are right now is precisely, specifically, exactly the version of you that this opportunity requires. The period you have just come through has not been easy. I feel that with such clarity that I want to name it plainly before we go anywhere else. There has been a heaviness, a season of doing the work without being able to see the results, a time of planting things in soil that looked from the surface like it might not yield anything, months, possibly longer, of maintaining your integrity, your standards, your belief in something better without the external confirmation that those things were leading anywhere real. And there were moments, I am certain, where you questioned it, where you wondered if you had been fooling yourself, where the gap between where you were and where you wanted to be felt less like a temporary distance and more like a permanent condition. I need you to hear this. That period was not wasted, not a single day of it. Not a single moment of doubt that you pushed through, not a single morning where you chose to keep going anyway, not a single instance where you held your standard even when lowering it would have been so much easier. All of it, every uncomfortable, uncertain, unglamorous moment of it was construction, was foundation, Was the universe building something beneath you that you could not see because you were standing on top of it? And now it is July, and what has been built beneath you is solid, and what is about to be placed on top of that foundation is something extraordinary. And let me stay here for a moment because I want to speak to something specific before I describe what I feel coming in. There is a quality in your energy right now that I find remarkable. It is the quality of someone who has been refined by difficulty without being hardened by it. And I want to be precise about that distinction because it matters enormously. Some people go through hard seasons and come out closed, armored, unwilling to hope too loudly or reach too openly because the cost of disappointment has become too high. And that response is completely understandable. It is in many ways a rational adaptation to pain. But it is not where you are. What I feel in you is something different. You have been through what you have been through, and you are still underneath whatever protective layers exist, underneath whatever careful management of expectation has been necessary, still genuinely, stubbornly, beautifully open, still believing, even when believing felt foolish, that something real was possible, still oriented toward life rather than away from it. That openness is not a vulnerability right now, it is a magnet. And what it is drawing towards you this July is not one thing. I want to be clear about that because I think one of the reasons people sometimes miss extraordinary opportunities is that they arrive looking for a single dramatic event, a lightning bolt moment. And what actually happens is more like a convergence. Multiple things shifting simultaneously, multiple doors opening in close proximity, multiple areas of your life beginning to move at once in ways that feel connected, feel coordinated, feel like they are being orchestrated by something that has a wider view of your life than you do from inside it. What I keep sensing for Virgo this July is a convergence of exactly that kind. Let me walk you through what I feel in each area because I want this reading to be specific enough to actually be useful to you. In the area of connection, whether that is romantic connection, a deepening of something that already exists, or the arrival of something entirely new, what I keep sensing is a meeting, not a passing encounter, a meeting that has weight to it, a meeting where something is recognized. And the specific quality of this recognition is not the breathless, destabilizing, obsessive quality of infatuation. What I feel is something more grounding than that. Something that makes you feel more like yourself rather than less. Someone who meets your depth with equivalent depth, who does not require you to translate your complexity into something more manageable, who is interested in exactly the version of you that you actually are, including and especially the parts you have learned to present carefully because not everyone has known how to receive them. This person, whether they are someone you have not yet encountered or someone already in your orbit who is about to reveal themselves in an entirely different light, carries a specific energy that I want to describe because I think when you feel it, you will recognize it from this reading. There is a stillness to them, a centeredness. They are not someone performing stability. They are someone who has actually done the work to arrive at it. And when you are in their presence, something in your own nervous system responds. Something relaxes that you did not even realize you had been holding tense. That response, that specific physical involuntary relaxation, is your signal When you feel that, Virgo, pay attention. That is not ordinary. That is not something to analyze your way out of. That is recognition, and it deserves to be honored. Now I want to speak about the professional and material dimension of what is coming, because I feel it equally strongly, and I would be doing you a disservice to leave it unaddressed. There is an opening, a real, specific, tangible opening in the area of your work, your purpose, your contribution to the world. And what I keep sensing is that this opening does not arrive in the way you might expect. It does not come through the channels you have been watching. It does not look like what you imagined opportunity would look like. It comes from a direction that surprises you, a conversation you weren't expecting to have, a connection that reveals itself as more significant than it initially appeared, an idea that arrives with such clarity and such force that you cannot dismiss it the way you might have dismissed similar ideas in the past. Because here is something I feel very strongly about your relationship with your own potential, Virgo. You have been underestimating yourself, not dramatically, not in an obvious way, but in the specific, subtle, persistent way of someone who applies their most rigorous standards to their own ideas before they ever share them with the world. You have a filter, a quality control mechanism that is so demanding that many of your best ideas, your most original thinking, your most genuine contributions never make it past the internal editing process. You catch them before they can be criticized by anyone else because you critique them first. And while that quality of mind has protected you from certain kinds of exposure, it has also kept something extraordinary contained that the world is genuinely ready to receive. July is asking you to loosen that filter just enough, not to abandon discernment, never. That discernment is one of your greatest gifts, but to allow something that is ready to move, to actually move, to release something you have been holding internally and see what happens when it meets the world. Because what I keep sensing is that the world is more ready for what you carry than you have allowed yourself to believe. The opportunity that is coming in the professional dimension may require you to say yes before you feel fully ready. I want to prepare you for that specifically because readiness, the kind of complete, certain, fully prepared readiness, is something Virgo can wait for indefinitely. There is always one more thing to refine, one more angle to consider, one more way in which you are not quite there yet. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, the universe sends an opportunity that will not wait for perfect readiness. That asks you to step forward from exactly where you are with exactly what you have, trusting that the rest will become clear in motion rather than in preparation. When that moment comes this July, and I feel it coming, step forward anyway. The ground will be there. Let me take a breath because there is something else I want to address that I feel is deeply relevant for you right now. Something that has to do not with what is coming externally, but with what needs to happen internally in order for you to fully receive it. There is a story you have been telling yourself, a quiet background narrative that has been running beneath your conscious awareness for long enough that it feels like fact rather than interpretation. It is a story about what you are allowed to expect, about how much goodness is realistic for someone in your specific circumstances, about whether the things you most deeply want are things that are actually available to you or whether they belong to some other category of person living some other kind of life. I feel this story in your energy not as something you would say out loud, you are too self aware for that, but as something that operates beneath the level of language, as a set of invisible limits you have placed on your own possibility. July is going to challenge that story directly. What arrives this month is going to be, in certain ways, an argument against the limits you have set. Evidence that what you had quietly decided was not available to you is, in fact, moving directly toward you. And when you feel the instinct to explain it away, to find a reason why this doesn't count, why this is the exception, why this doesn't actually mean what it appears to mean, I need you to notice that instinct without obeying it. What arrives this July is real. It is for you. You did not stumble into it by accident or by luck. You arrived at it through the specific accumulation of every choice you have made, every standard you have held, every moment of integrity in difficult circumstances, every time you chose growth over comfort. This is not luck, this is alignment, and you are allowed to receive it as such. I want to speak now about something that I feel is the most important practical element of this entire reading: the question of recognition. Because once in a lifetime opportunities have a specific challenge that ordinary opportunities do not have. They rarely announce themselves as what they are. They do not arrive with labels. They arrive looking like moments, like conversations, like chance encounters, or unexpected emails or ideas that surface during quiet mornings. And the people who receive them fully are the people who have cultivated the inner stillness necessary to recognize significance when it appears in ordinary wrapping. This is where your Virgo nature is genuinely your greatest asset because you notice things. You have an ability to detect quality, real quality, not performed quality, that most people simply do not possess. You can feel the difference between something substantial and something that merely appears substantial. You can sense when something is real and what is coming this July is real. When you feel it, and you will feel it because the quality of it is unmistakable, trust that feeling. Do not wait for external validation. Do not survey everyone in your life before deciding whether to move. Trust what your own system tells you about the quality of what is in front of you, because in this particular case, your system is calibrated correctly. It has been calibrated by everything you have been through, and it is going to recognize this. I want to close this reading with something I feel very deeply for Virgo right now, something that I think is important to carry into July as more than a thought, as a genuine embodied knowing. You have been faithful to your own becoming during a period when faithfulness was genuinely difficult, when the results were not visible, when the work felt thankless, when the gap between where you were and where you knew you were capable of being felt almost cruel in its size. And through all of that, through every day of that, you kept going. You kept caring. You kept showing up as someone who believes that quality matters, that integrity matters, that the way you move through the world when nobody is watching matters. You kept being yourself even when being yourself felt like the harder, lonelier, less immediately rewarding choice. July is the universe's response to that faithfulness, not as a reward dispensed from above, but as a natural consequence, the way water eventually finds the channel that has been prepared for it. You prepared the channel through everything. Through the difficult seasons and the uncertain periods and the moments where you wondered if any of it was leading anywhere, you prepared it. And now something extraordinary is finding its way toward you through the path you have spent all this time creating. Be present for it, be open for it. Be the full, unedited, undiminished version of yourself when it arrives. Because that version, not the carefully managed one, not the one with all the rough edges sanded down, but the real, deep, particular, irreplaceable. You, that is exactly what this moment has been waiting for. This July belongs to you, Virgo. Receive it completely. If something in this reading landed for you today, if it named something you've been feeling or confirmed something you've been sensing, please tell me in the comments. I read every single one. Tell me what resonated. Tell me what you're stepping into. Tell me what you're ready to receive. Your voice in this community genuinely matters. If you feel called to share this with someone who is in a waiting season and needs to hear that their moment is coming, please do. A like on this video helps this energy reach the people it's meant for. And if you're not yet subscribed, I would love to have you here for every reading ahead. Virgo, your moment is here. Don't miss it. I'll see you in the next one.